So let's talk about Jewelry Bonney, one of the most, and if not the most, underestimated of the supernova. Probably one of the least featured of the worst generation in total. When you look back on everything, she probably has the least amount of panels, the least feats, screen time. There isn't a whole lot to Jewelry Bonney's name. But what if I were to tell you she might have one of the most broken devil fruits we've seen in the series so far? That's right, she might be in the upper echelons with Luffy and Law as having an OP devil fruit. Now, we don't have the name for Bonney's devil fruit, and we don't have any explanation to how exactly it works. All we've really seen is that she can change the age of anybody she touches. And off the bat, that right there says a lot. Fruits that pretty much activate based on touch are generally seen as pretty overpowered. You have Kuma's devil fruit, where with one touch he can send you flying for days and nights and you can't do anything about it. You have Sugar's devil fruit, one touch she can turn you into a toy, make you sign a contract, and potentially be her slave for the rest of your life, wiping out your existence from everybody else. And then we have Bonney, who, by touching someone, can alter their age. Now, when you think about it, it reminds me a lot of Ain's ability from One Piece Film Z. Basically, she has a fruit, the Motomoto no Mi, that can regress people's age by 12 years. Now, this fruit can't go forward in time, it can only go back, and if you keep going back, you pretty much get erased from existence. So if you're like 25 years old, if you get touched 3 times, you no longer exist, because the first 2 bring you back to 1 year old, and then the last one pretty much wipes you out. And it also makes me think about Shinobu's devil fruit, where she has the mature fruit. Basically anything she touches progresses in age. Nothing goes backward, it only goes forward. Now when you look at these 2 fruits, I would say they're both very physical in change. Ain's fruit pretty much regresses the body, and then Shinobu's fruit progresses the body. When you look at Bonney's fruit, it seems like it does a little bit more than just age or regress. And you might even say that Bonney's fruit has more to do with time progression and regression than it does with physical progression and progression. It could be on the realm of how Toki and her powers are related to time. So let's take a look at what Bonney has done so far. We've seen her change people into kids and adults in Sabondi, and we've seen her constantly switch back and forth. However, one thing that seems to change with Bonney's fruit is that there is some personality change to it. The Marines that were changed to kids started crying and throwing tantrums, which they wouldn't do in their modern age, and the Marines that were turned elderly started displaying more elderly symptoms, like they couldn't hear, they didn't know what was going on, they were just confused and lost. And it seems like these have more mental changes than just physical appearance. So when you look at Ain's and what she did to Nami, for example, she turned Nami back to basically a little kid. Nami's personality didn't change, her actions didn't change, she still thought and acted and pretty much carried on in the movie like she was just Nami but younger. Whereas the people in Sabondi that got changed, there seemed to be some kind of personality or mental change with that. And that's the first thing that points it to being more than just, a physical appearance change. We also see that she can freely do it to herself. She can turn into a kid, she can turn into an older woman, and then she can turn into a young woman. Now with Bonney, it does not seem like her personality changes. I would argue that we haven't seen a lot of Bonney in these separate states. I think we've only seen like really small glimpses, so we don't know the extent of how those changes affect her, but it seems like she is either immune to personality changes or she's gotten used to it. Now, I want to point out something that we see in Stampede that Bonney does with her fruit. When everyone's fighting Bullet, Bonney manages to take birds from their egg state and then have them hatch and grow into full birds. Now, that I would say is more in line with Shinobu's fruit, where you're maturing something, but you're basically taking something through different stages of life. So it's not just like these birds turned 12 years older. It's not just like these birds all of a sudden matured and their bodies changed. They went from being in the state of an egg to a full-blown bird. So that's a complete change in their life cycle. If you think about Shinobu's fruit, if you touch an egg with Shinobu's fruit, it would probably rot. It would get old. It would, probably sink in on itself. It wouldn't turn into a being because Shinobu's fruit matures things, but doesn't necessarily transform the life cycle. And then the same with Ain's fruit. You become younger and younger, but then you just stop existing at some point. Now, as far as what we've seen Bonney use her powers on, it's just been the Marines and those birds, as well as herself. So we got that realm of use in her abilities. And I think there's a reason for that. It's pretty heavily stressed that she is someone incredibly important. Why? One could say it's her status. If she truly is related to the queen, if she is the queen of Sorbet Kingdom, that means she has a royal status. One could also say it's her devil fruit. The reason that Akainu said there were chills down his spine when she escaped could be indicating that she was once set up with the government, probably to use her devil fruit for something. And when you think about it, her devil fruit has a lot of use when you're someone who's trying to reach immortality. And I say that because Bonney's fruit has that effect where it's a life cycle. So it's not just body progression, it's an entire life cycle. Meaning if you set someone back in time, or if you regress their age to a certain extent, you basically set their body and mind to that of their younger version. And my thought is that what if this fruit, this power has been passed down for generations through the world government? What if they've been using it to keep people like the Gorosei, keep people like Emu, basically from dying? What if Emu's from the Void Century and has really just been kept alive with fruits like this? We have the immortality fruit from Law. We have Bonney's fruit here that can regress age and body to a certain extent. What if they're using her fruit to pretty much keep that cycle going, to keep them in power and to keep them knowledgeable and the only ones to be knowledgeable? Otherwise, why would Akainu, of all people, say Bonney disappearing sent a shiver down his spine? Why would Kuma end up working for the government he hates if there wasn't some kind of world government connection or tie? Is it possible that Kuma knows about the use of Bonney's devil fruit, and he went to work with the world government in order to keep her alive, keep her safe, doing something in order to make sure that Bonney doesn't get, killed off for her fruit, or basically kept as a slave for the world government? And now that we have Bonney here with the Vegapunk who worked on Kuma, we can start putting some things together as in there's definitely a connection, and there's definitely something that Kuma did with Vegapunk in order to keep Bonney safe, or in order to do something for Bonney. Whatever Kuma's decision was, whatever reason he had for doing it, there has to be a connection to Sorbet Kingdom and to Bonney that brings Bonney here now. It even brings up the potential of these Seraphims, where they are young children now. What if Bonney uses her ability to age them up? What if we have the Seraphims, but they're the same age as Boa, the same age as Mihawk? And what if they gain skills? And what if their mentality changes? Everything pretty much goes through a metamorphosis. The use of Bonney's power here could be astronomical to their fighting force. This could be what makes Seraphims so absolutely deadly. And there's a strong possibility that now that we're here with Vegapunk, we can now learn the secrets of devil fruits, because that's what Oda said would happen once we met Vegapunk. We would get the answers to what devil fruits really are. We get insight. We have Luffy here, and he's just unlocked Gear 5th with the Nika Nika no Mi. And we have Bonney here, who has her fruit, which surprisingly hasn't been looked into until we have a chance now. So we could get an exposition dump not only of Kuma's actions, but why he did it in relation to Bonney's devil fruit. This also brings up the idea of Bonney traveling with us for a little bit. We have had different portions of the Supernova group with us for most of the New World. We've had Beige, we've had Law for so long, we had Kid, Killer. We haven't really seen a lot of Rogue. We had Drake, who wasn't really with us, but he was still a good portion of the Wano arc, and that includes Apu, that includes Hawkins. So we have these supernovas that have all had their chance to really shine. And now it's Bonney's turn. And what better way to make Bonney shine than to show off this devil fruit that could have world-breaking potential? Those are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree down below. Let me know if you have your own ideas, and I'll catch you in the next vid. Bye.